drama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
What is everybody's favorite time to visit Phoenix, Arizona and its Valley of the Sun? Well, in the cool months of winter and spring, of course, for a little tennis or golf or just warming up the bones. And drag racers are no exception to that rule, which is why NHRA has eliminated the October Fall Nationals in its 100-degree heat in favor of this new race, the Motorcraft Arizona Nationals. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and I'll tell you, the fans and this reporter are truly enjoying this weather. Temperatures in the low 70s, humidity in the teens, and even more than we enjoying it, the power plants these drag racers use just love it. Even though the elevation here is 1,600 feet, they're running as quick, in some cases quicker, than they do at sea level. Now, as you know, usually our stories from the pits concern, well, blood, sweat, and nitro. Paul Page has found one that has to do with love.
Tony, would you like to kiss your bride? Do it.
Well, Steve, you've always said anything can happen at a drag race, but who would have believed? Here we are in the hot pits, right at the back end of Bob Glidden's trailer, with Etta Glidden and Bob Glidden looking on. Kelly and Tony are now married. Guys, congratulations. Why did you choose to do it here at a drag race?
I'm a motorsport fan. I live for this kind of stuff, and I was almost born at a drag strip.
Kelly, is he just pulling you along, or are you in on this full belt too?
That's right. He told me that if it would be really neat to get married at the drag strip, so we just took our chances and called Jeff Wolf up.
Well, you've got the roar of a Top Fuel and a funny car engine supplying the chorus. Looks like you got a great life ahead, and all of it going to be spent at drag strips?
You bet. Yep. You bet.
Let's see if you can't set a few records of your own today. Congratulations. Now, drag racing, remember, too, is a marriage of horsepower and speed. And for that marriage, let's get the story from our protege, Don Garlitz.
Well, Paul, let's talk about a different kind of ring. One not made of gold, but one made of a very exotic steel, the 320 ring and pinion. This is the ring gear hooked to the wheels. This is the pinion hooked to the engine. This goes 3.2 times, this goes once. Well, this was a rule that was initiated by NHRA for safety. The speeds were approaching 300 miles an hour on drag strips built over 20 years ago, and that was a little bit much. So they got it, 9-mile-an-hour decrease. But usually with a new rule, Paul, there's some repercussions. You know, something might go wrong. But in this case, it was benefits. We got very close qualifying. We had 5 4-second runs here at Firebird, a track considered marginal by a lot of the pros, and a very tight qualifying field. This means good racing, folks. And so, with that in mind, let's go to the second.
And Don, you're absolutely right. The cars are running as quick as they did with taller gear ratios, and the rule has done exactly what it was supposed to do. They're having a hard time doing much better than 280 miles per hour. This is round 2 of Top Fuel action. It will be Jimmy Nix up against the snowman Gene Snow.
And you know, Steve, I'd like to mention one other thing. It has been awfully easy on clutches and crankshafts, and that's very important. That has cut the cost of racing down for these pros.
All right, the electric starter motor has come off the engine of Gene Snow. You can hear the unique nitro sound literally exploding in the cylinders instead of burning. Some 4,000 horsepower to be unleashed in the burnout, to put down some hot, sticky rubber and kind of build your own base to run in. Now, Gene Snow is up against Jimmy Nix. And a month ago, you'd have thought that's an easy one. Jimmy Nix had been out of the sport for 20 years. In only his 3rd race here at Phoenix, he is the #1 qualifier at 4.96 seconds.
And that is unbelievable, considering that he hasn't raced in years and years to come into the sport and buy a fuel car and run that quick.
Absolutely. The big smile for Jimmy Nix from Oklahoma City. And his crew chief and old pal, Bob Kreitz, who last year rinsed on Roland Leong's funny car.
And Nix will be facing none other than Gene Snow, who qualified #9 with a 5:05 and beat Dick LaHaye in the first round. His crew chief, former funny car competitor Brad Tuttle. Earlier, Snow was having some problems.
The weak link in Top Fuel dragsters as of late has been one of the most inexpensive pieces on the car, the supercharger drive belt. Gene Snow broke 4 of them in a row just last weekend. Now here's one off of Snow's car that didn't break, but you can see the discoloration here. That's abuse on the belt. They won't run this again. Now he feels he has at least temporarily solved the problem. This is the front cover off the supercharger that he was running. Notice a crack right here. Now this is a very lightweight cast magnesium part, but apparently not up to the pull and the thrust on that front pulley. So Snow has gone to a different part that he feels will be more durable. It's a little bit heavier, but that doesn't make much difference. You can't win without your supercharger belt. Now that one is of cast aluminum. They've made 3 runs and have not lost a belt. But there's other contributing factors. The new low gears mean higher RPMs. More fuel through the motor means more manifold pressure. Newer superchargers have heavier impellers, means they're harder to turn. Figure this, it takes 800 horsepower to turn that supercharger, and the belts were never designed for this use. They're just a commercial belt. The guys and gals are hoping that someone out there with a belt manufacturing company may take an interest in this problem.
We'll certainly keep an eye on the front of Gene Snow's motor. That's Snow over in the far lane. Nix in the blue car in the near lane.
Notice that Snow goes forward just a little bit further than Nix. That's called deep staging.
And it's Snow away first. Jimmy Nix maybe a little rusty off the starting line after a 2-decade layoff. It is Gene Snow advancing to the semifinals at 5'10", 257 to a 5'20", 247. Let's go back to the starting line. Don Garlitz with Gene's crew chief.
Well, it's real consistent.
Yeah, it is, and we'll make it more consistent. We feel like we're getting down further at the other end, and I'm glad we're working with Gene. We've got an excellent crew, and we'll be back.
May give you some idea, too, of the kind of run we will expect here at Firebird as we're at round number 2 of Top Fuel. And here's a fella's done something no one else ever has. Kenny Koretsky, he's in his Top Fuel car ready to face Gary Ormsby, but he is also qualified in pro stock. The first time anyone has ever done that in NHRA drag racing. Gary Ormsby pulls his machine forward, the familiar colors alongside as Koretsky starts his burnout. Ormsby follows out immediately. Don, more and more of the cars are deep staging this year.
That's right, Paul. It causes that slip that they get printed and given to them at the end of the track to show a better printed reaction time. Doesn't make their reaction time any better. It just looks better on print.
Let's go to the far end.
We can see why Jimmy Nix is out the low qualifier. The blower belt is gone. Gene Snow, the winner. You know that problem very well. You finally extended this thing a bit, though. 5'10", 260.
Well, it felt good, so we decided we'd keep on after it a little bit. The belt's on it. I am amazed. I'm pleased. I'm sorry that his came off, but boy, maybe we got rid of our bug for a while.
Tell me about the conditions at track, the weather.
I think the left lane's a little bit looser out there in the middle. I mean, I know we got the tires loose. I could feel a little bit, but it got through it. I think next time I'm going to take the right. It's not as good as it was in qualifying. They never are, but it's plenty good.
Good job.
Thanks.
Lane choice always critical, and Gene Snow thinking about coming into that near lane, should he have the lane choice when he comes up in the next round. There's that blower belt. Big concern in Top Fuel racing right now. Kenny Koretsky brings his machine back. He also suffered a back problem, a vibration problem Friday in qualifying, and therefore is suffering a little pain in that car.
You're looking at one frustrated crew chief for Gary Ormsby, Lee Beard. They do not like this new 320 gear. They ran a much higher gear. They were a brute horsepower car. That's how they won the Winston title, and they're having a hard time dealing with it. Gary Ormsby qualified only number 10, and that's very slow for that operation. Lee Beard, no smile on his face. It may get better as the day wears on. Now they're up against Kenny Koretsky. You got to call this guy a rookie. It's only his second NHRA national event in a Top Fuel car out of Pennsylvania, but he has got an excellent crew chief, a man who's been around a long, long time, campaigned his own equipment, Mike Garrison from Fresno, California.
Well, I can certainly appreciate the pain, Paul, that Kenny's going through, because I had a back injury and drove a fuel car, and I had a full round to get ready each time. He's going back there and driving a pro stock each time between the Top Fuel rounds.
But Kenny said it hurts more getting in and out of the car than it actually does driving it. So he's in no pain as he sits there on the starting line, as long as the car doesn't shake violently again. Kenny Koretsky loses traction. Gary Ormsby wins it, and a ball of fire for Koretsky.
Kenny Koretsky tries to get the car under control. The parachute burns away. He jumps down on the brakes.
And that kind of bouncing around is the last thing a driver needs when already he's got a back problem, Don.
Oh, it must be just terrible in that car right now. He'd be lucky if he can even get out of it, Steve.
Emergency crews, the NHRA Safety Safari on the scene, as they always are, the best in motorsports. Let's take a look, Don, one more time.
It looked like he smoked the tires and then must have over-revved the engine, and then something let go, and fire it was. And, of course, it burned the parachute away, causing the car not to stop properly. Look at the thing burn up. And all that heat back there. It doesn't even look like the flames are there, but it burned that nylon parachute to shreds.
And down here at the scene, Don and Paul, NHRA's emergency people being very careful with Kenny Koretsky. They don't want to aggravate the existing back injury, but Koretsky courageously is helping himself and helping them extricate himself from the car. They have called an ambulance, and they will transport Kenny Koretsky, not taking any chances, which means he will not compete today in that pro stock car that he qualified.
We'll keep you posted on his condition, and we'll be back.
The NHRA Motorcraft Arizona Nationals, and there's the newlyweds, Kelly and Tony Athagia, having their pictures taken with best man Bob Glidden and matron of honor Etta Glidden. The Athagias big fans of the Glidden racing team. I mean, if you get married in their pit, you got to be, right, Paul Page?
I don't know if it was Ed, Steve, or if he's looking for a job wrenching for the Glidden family. Out on the line in top fuel, there is the former Winston World Champion, Joe Amato. New car, new colors, and looking very strong. He's had lane choice, taking the near side to face this man, Frank Bradley.
And he earned lane choice because he ran a quicker elapsed time earlier today in round number 1 than did Bradley. Joe Amato, Old Forge, Pennsylvania, qualified number 5. Not that good for him, but the elapsed time sounds impressive at 4.99 seconds. And he defeated Connie Coletta in round number 1. The veteran from Michigan is out of here. Now, no surprise that his crew chief is still Tim Richards, one of the real geniuses in the game. Amato's going to pay him whatever it takes. Now, up against Frank Bradley, Bradley actually qualified quicker to 497 and beat Don Perdome in round number 1 from Santa Rosa, California. Junior Honerty is Bradley's crew chief.
You talk about some great qualifying. When Frank Bradley came up in qualifying, he was side by side with Shirley Muldowney. Now take a look at this, because this turned out to be the second fastest side-by-side run in the history of drag racing.
They both clocked 4.97 second elapsed times. It was only Bradley's second 4, and the two of them, this wasn't competition, remember, no winners, no losers. They celebrated together. It was a thrill for both of them.
So Frank Bradley with 3 wins to his credit. The crew takes a final look at those big rear tires, wipes them down. He's ready to face Joe Amato.
Well, they won't be hugging at the end of this race. You can bet on that, Paul.
Joe Amato in the near lane. Hard to get used to that red, white, and blue color instead of the traditional candy apple, but what you see is what you get. This is the second race of the Winston season in NHRA Championship Drag Racing. A great start by Amato. And it is Amato. 5:03, 275 to a 5:11 at 271 miles per hour. Amato with great consistency. Back on the starting line, Don Garlitz is with Tim Richards.
Well, a 5:04 in the first round, and now 5:03. Richard, looks like you're starting on a march.
Well, I hope we're on to something here. We've been having a lot of trouble keeping it consistent in qualifying. It keeps slowing down, but this time it didn't slow down, so maybe we're on something here.
Good show.
Thanks.
So Tim Richards has certainly figured something out for Joe Amato, and that near lane looks good.
As we watch the replay, we notice that Joe was right on the light. Look at that beautiful advantage he gains at the starting line. And with the Tim Richards power as the car moved down track, Bradley was never a challenge this time, even though he ran a 4.97 in qualifying.
Joe, you left first and you got there first. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, Steve, the car shook a little bit. You know, I was real nervous because the sun's come out and the track's gotten a little bit slippery. So we're just trying to get down the track and go around at a time.
Your time slip is going to read 5:03.
That's pretty stout. Tim Richards and my guys are doing a good job here because this track is real, you know, it's right on the edge of being able to run a 4 or smoking the tires. And we're just trying to go one at a time.
Great job.
So Joe Amato looking good, seems pleased with that as we go back to the starting line. Here's the other part of that 4-second run against Bradley in qualifying. Shirley Muldowney. She's ready to face Daryl Gwen.
Well, this is another color change. Shirley has always been in a pink car. Now we're looking at a blue one down there.
Well, now she's affiliated with Larry Minor Racing and a new sponsor, and says she's enjoying every minute of it. Not a lot of pressure having to own and maintain all of her own equipment. But her husband, Ron Tolbert, well, he's still the crew chief. In fact, her entire crew from last season mans this car, and they're doing a great job. Earlier today, in round number 1, they met up with 4-time funny car champion Kenny Bernstein in only his second race with the Top Fuel dragster, and he retains his crew chief as well as he moves into the Kings of the Sport, Dale Armstrong. Earlier today, it was Shirley against Bernstein, and this is one the fans here today will remember for a long, long time. Shirley was in the far lane, Bernstein in the near lane, both with first-rate 300-inch wheelbase dragsters.
You ride with Kenny Bernstein. Watch the left side of the screen. There's the nose of Shirley Muldowney's car. That's all you have to see as she takes the win and beats Kenny Bernstein in round 1.
Kenny Bernstein, you daylighted Shirley Muldowney off the starting line, and it looked like maybe you were going to take her to task.
Well, I appreciate it. We got a little good start there, but just ran out in the middle, and Shirley just came around us a little bit too hard. Ours kind of, as you see, oiled it down here, and that's about where it was. But good race. She deserves to win that one.
Indeed. But what's been the toughest challenge for your crew adapting to this Top Fuel dragster?
Making this thing run on 8 cylinders. That's been the headache. If it'll run on 8, it'll run good, but it just doesn't want to run on 8 all the time. We haven't quite figured it out, but Armstrong will get her handled.
Oh, I know that.
So Kenny Bernstein working with some new technology in that Top Fuel dragster. They'll get it figured out. Daryl Gwynn racing out of Miami, Florida. His crew chief, of course, Ken Benny, and they qualified number 6 with a 5:02, and they now have the job of facing Shirley Muldowney.
And Don Garland, this crew of Gwynn's is just really now starting to come together with crew chief Ken Benny. They're going to be dangerous this year.
Yes, they are, Steve. They're working on this hydraulic clutch system that, you know, they've taken away the electronics this year, and this has been the biggest problem facing the teams.
Hey, these crew chiefs needed a new challenge anyway, Don.
Well, there's an awful lot of smart guys out there, and I think they've been doing a real good job considering this is only the second race.
Shirley looking for a better reaction time. Gwynn is deep stage. They are both deep stage. It is Gwynn away first. But as against Bernstein, it is Shirley with the big power. 5:01 to a losing 5:11, a speed of 277 for Shirley Muldowney. And again, at the starting line, Don Garland.
Great stuff. Oh, thanks, Don. We were just trying to make sure that it got down that lane, and we just tried to take it easy. I really didn't think it would run that good. We were trying to repeat what we ran first round.
Well, 5:01, now you're in contention.
Well, we're definitely in contention. We have lane choice for this round, and we look forward to it.
Good luck.
Thanks, Don.
Boy, there's a man happy about that run, and they should be. So that sets the stage for the semifinal round, where Shirley Muldowney will face Gary Ormsby, and Muldowney will have the choice of lanes. Will she go for the near side? And Joe Amato and Gene Snow. Snow has already said he's thinking about that near lane. Now, let's go to the far end and Steve.
Shirley Muldowney's love affair with Firebird Raceway continues. Low elapsed time of the day, 5:01.
Wonderful. I knew it was quick, and they really did something to the high speed because it cleaned it up, and it just motored on down through there.
You know, looking at the record of your run, this car runs very hard on the low end, the first 60 feet or so.
Yeah, and I've seen better 60-foot times, but it's consistent, and that's what we're looking for, Steve.
Well, you're going to have lane choice, no doubt about that.
Good, because we may need it. Thank you.
Oh, she likes this place.
And Shirley Muldowney, remember, won the last race held here at Firebird. Well, back in the pit area, Casey Spurlock's crew fires up the machine as they prepare for their confrontation with Mark Oswald. Coming up later, we'll be back right after this. Kraft Arizona Nationals in Bruce Larson's pit, where the information has just come that they face a bye run in round number 2 of Funny Car. Why is that, Steve?
Fellas, here is why Bruce Larson will have a bye in round 2 of Funny Car competition. The hole in the side of the block in the car driven by Glenn Micris. And Glenn, it's unusual for this team to not go ahead and put a new engine in.
Yeah, it's actually real unusual, but we've been working on a new combination, and well, some of the stuff was a one-of-a-kind item, so we don't want to try and piece it together and have a chance of hurting more stuff, and we'd have to be on our toes to be right there with Larson anyway. I mean, he's tough.
Indeed he is. Sorry you can't be alongside him.
Okay, thank you.
Well, a hole like that in the side of the block means that a rod has come off the crank and put that huge hole. That is non-repairable.
In the meantime, we continue with beautiful weather. And out on the strip itself, we're ready for Pro Stock, round number 2. And that is Bruce Allen.
Bruce Allen, one of the best of the Chevrolet competitors, racing for the famed Rear and Morrison team out of Arlington, Texas. Now, Bruce was scheduled to race Kenny Koretsky, but you'll remember what happened to Kenny in his top fuel car in round number 2. Word comes from the hospital that Koretsky will be released later on today, but in no condition to sit in a pro stock car. And here's why. The bouncing around that he took trying to get this car stopped has aggravated that back injury. He will, the hospital says, make a complete recovery. It's just going to take a little time.
So Bruce Allen has the benefit of a bye run. I'm sometimes not so sure whether that is good or bad, because you're running really against the clock, and sometimes some of the greatest mistakes are made right here. Bruce Allen powers it up. Good reaction time.
But his performance falls off, Paul, from his earlier efforts here at Firebird to a 7:53. But you're right, he still practiced on that Christmas tree as if he had an opponent, and that's the mindset a driver has to have.
Back at the starting line, it's Gordy Rivera in his pro stock machine. He has lane choice as he's ready to face Scott Jeffrey on pro stock, round number 2.
Neither of the event final rounds. Scott Jeffrey on from Huntington Beach, California, has made it as far as the semifinals, as has his opponent, Gordy Rivera, in the near lane. Now, Rivera has to be a crowd favorite, Paul. He's from up the road a couple of hours, Yuma, Arizona, and he has Bill Grumpy Jenkins, the famed Chevrolet engine builder, on his team for this season.
I imagine he drug a few fans here to Firebird along with him, and they have tremendous weather, which really has to be helping these engines as they are ready to turn out their tremendous horsepower in this, the closest form of NHRA drag racing pro stock.
The RPMs go up to about 8,000, and it is Rivera who moves first.
Rivera cut a great light. He leads all the way, takes the win. Gordy Rivera with a 741 to a losing 744, and great reaction time. And Gordy Rivera with a whopping 185-mile-an-hour pass through the traps.
You can certainly tell he's performing out here in front of his fans, can't you, Paul?
Boy, he's doing that. He's showing off. And here is 10-time Winston World Champion Bob Glidden as he prepares to face Kenny Delco. Let's go to the far end. Steve Evans.
Arizona's favorite pro stock driver. Well, Arizona's only pro stock driver. Gordy Rivera, beautiful. Into the semis of 741.
Thank you, boy. That feels really good. I'm telling you, it's been a while.
And when you only have to drive an hour and a half to the racetrack, that's even better.
Yeah, it's saving money. Well, I'm going to try to get ready for the next run. I think the next one's going to be a little tougher.
You've got some good help in the engine department.
Yes, sir. Grumpy Jenkins is with me today, and he's lining me up perfect. The car's leaving real good.
This could be a tough act here.
Thank you.
Looking good and feeling good, Gordy Rivera. In the meantime, back at the starting line, the famous colors belonging to Bob Glidden, the #1 signifying yet another Winston World Championship. He has the support of his entire family, racing their car out of Whiteland, Indiana. In this round, Pro Stock Round 2, he faces Kenny Delco out of Center Reach, New York.
Glidden, of course, in a Ford product, the Ford Probe, one of the most slippery machines around, and that for Kenny Delco is a Pontiac Grand Prix. A foul start for Kenny Delco, but you're on board with Bob Glidden. And still, even though Delco left first, you see no sign of him. And it wouldn't matter. He has been disqualified for leaving the starting line before the green light circuit is complete. You can't do that. You're back in the pit.
What looks like a beautiful starting line advantage for Kenny Delco turns out to be a red light. These pro stock drivers cut these lights so close, and those cars lift the front wheels up, it causes them to sometimes red light.
Bob Glidden with a 735 ET ran nearly 187 miles an hour.
Next up, we're going to see a couple of real threats to Glidden's dominance in this sport. It will be Jerry Ekman, the yellow Pontiac car, who won the opening race of the season, the Winter Nationals in Pomona, California. Only his second ever NHRA national event victory from Ventura, California, and he is up against Mark Powick. Powick has never won. He made a Winter Nationals finals a couple of years ago, but he's qualified here in the #4 position with newfound horsepower.
Powick in the far lane of the Oldsmobile, racing out of the Midwest. Of course, Ekman, that bright yellow car on the near side.
Powick was away first. But it's Ekman who covers 1,320 feet in the quickest number and puts his front wheels across the stripe ahead of Powik. 736 to a 741.
So that sets up the pairings for the semifinal round in Pro Stock. Jerry Ekman will take on Bob Glidden. Glidden has his choice of lanes. And Gordy Rivera will take Bruce Allen. And Rivera continues his campaign with his choice of lanes. Now, let's go down to the far end. Steve Evans is with Jerry Ekman. Steve?
That was a drag race. That couldn't have been by much.
No, it was not by much. He had to come from behind a bit there. He nailed you a bit.
Did he get me? I figured he's pretty sharp on the lines, this old boy. And pretty sharp guy. And I figured we had lane choice, so we might have had an advantage. I don't think we had any performance advantage because Mark's out-qualified me and ran awful good the round before. But having the lane choice, I think, gave me a little bit on the ET, and I figured I didn't want to do anything stupid.
You have now lost lane choice against Bob Glidden.
Oh, is that right? What did I run on that pass?
36.
Okay, well, what the heck.
It was important a moment ago.
A great attitude for Jerry Ekman as he faces the reigning Winston World Champion in semifinal round. We're back in Joe Amato's pit area. They're preparing for their combat against Gene Snow and the Top Fuel semifinal.
Valley of the Sun for the NHRA Motorcraft Arizona Nationals. We're in Gary Ormsby's pit area where his crew chief Lee Beard is putting the finishing touches on that Top Fuel dragster. They will face up with the very tough Shirley Muldowney in the Top Fuel semifinal round to come. Right now, let's get into round number 2 of the tire smoking funny cars. Now, we told you before, Bruce Larson has a bye run as Glenn Micros in the Joe Paisano car is unable to make the call. But I think we'll see him do in funny car exactly what Bruce Allen did in Pro Stock. Run the car as hard as you can. You want to know, Don, if you still have the combination.
Well, and you also got to get lane choice. That's very important. I mean, what good does it do to take the car down the course? It costs $5,000 to make a run if you don't get a good performance data.
And it was Larson who ran low ET of the entire event in round number 1 earlier today at 5:24. His crew chief, Maynard Yanks, Don, tells me he's still trying to get a handle on the new clutch setup. They were using all the electronics that they had to take off of the car with the new rule. But in that this is a Joe Amato team car, they get a lot of good advice from Tim Richards, something a lot of people would like to have. Off the starting line, very hard. Oh, this is a beauty. 5:26 for Bruce Larson with no competition, 272 miles per hour. Let's go to Don with Maynard Yanks.
The single ain't all that exciting, but a 5:26 and a 5:24 round 1 and 2 is great stuff.
Oh, it's, the cars perform pretty well. I think we might be starting to get a handle on the clutch system, and Tim come up with a new fuel combination for us, and the two seem to like each other right now, so hopefully it'll last all day. Thank you.
Maynard Yanks goes down to pick up his driver, looking forward to better competition yet to come here at Phoenix. And there's John Force in his funny car, round number 2. Force has the lane choice as he's ready to face Jim White. They bring the top down on that machine. Now, John Force won the Keystone Nationals at Maple Grove last year. Now you're on board with John Force. We have a very special arrangement. Take a look at this. As he goes through his burnout, look at the smoke come up into the cockpit. We have Steve Evans in two-way radio contact with John Force. They can talk to each other. Go ahead, Steve.
John Force, Steve Evans. Beautiful burnout. What do you expect from the car here in the second round?
Sounds real good, Steve. You got a lot of muscle.
So John Force is ready. We've got a major radio network here. He can also talk with his crew.
So we got good oil pressure. How's the motor look, okay? Everything's just fine, John.
So John Force in radio contact with almost everybody here at Phoenix as he brings her back and puts her on the line as he's ready to face Jim White.
John Force from Yorba Linda, California, one of the most popular funny car drivers ever in this sport, with one of the most talented crew chiefs ever, Austin Boyle. They qualified number 3 to 5:33. Now here is the hard luck guy from last season, Jim White, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was either in the wall, upside down, or on the fence. Car on a Roland Leon valves. That won't happen this year. Qualified well with a 5:38. Now, there is Roland Leon. No one has backed up more funny cars than that man, and I mean it. Statistically, no one has. Let me ask you something, though, Don Garland.
What could John Force's crewman tell him about that car on the radio?
Well, he can look at the exhaust pipes and make sure everyone is hitting properly, that there's no little puffs of smoke. Also the sound. They'll get a different sound outside the car than he'll get inside the car. And it's just nice to have that confidence.
All right, here we go. John Force in the near lane. Jim White in the far lane. You're on board with John Force.
Boy, I'll tell you, muscle was an understatement.
He never saw Jim White, and neither did you. 5:26 wins it. Back on the starting line, Don is with the man, Austin Coyle, the crew chief.
Oh, 5:26, you're right in the hunt.
Oh, it's no problem. We're just working out this new motor deal with that slot blower on there like Prudhomme showed us the way at Indy last year, and we're getting pretty close. That's the best mile an hour we ever ran.
Great. Thank you.
Well, you talk about power. White came off the line with a better reaction time, but it was power that was the ally to John Force. Take a look at this run.
Well, you know, we heard John say on the two-way radio that it had a lot of muscle. Well, that's what it takes. And, you know, the driver can feel that inside the car. That engine just vibrates up through the frame rails.
John Force takes the win with a 5:26. Let's go to the far end. John Force asking the crew if he was late. You were a little late, but the car was quick enough. 5:26.
Well, I know, you know, coming back from Maple Grove when I won that race down there leaving, and this morning I really deep staged, and it gave me a good lead time, and Cole said, Force, maybe you're hurting us for lane choice because it does slow the car down. So he said, cut that out. We'll just outrun him if it works, and I was really late, so trade out there, huh?
Indeed, John Force. While the funny cars are on the line back in the pit area, they continue to work on the top fuelers. Shirley Muldowney's crew preparing their machine to face Gary Ormsby in the semifinals. More funny car action coming up next.
Candles the cool for your caddy, the juice for your jag. It's the jolt in your coat, and one win to the drag.
You want to add life to the life of your car? Give it the good stuff. Kendall Motor Oil. Pour it in and pour it on.
Push in your pickup, the zap in your seat, the revs in your turbo at the heart of your Lano TT. Pour it in, pour it on, pour in the Kendall and pour it on.
When it comes to rides, this one is serious fun. The new Cub, only from Honda.
Kenny Schrader here to tell you about my latest discovery, Mother's California Gold.
Hey, that's mine. Take it from me, folks, Rusty Wallace. I discovered Mother's Car Wax products first.
This is Davey Allison telling you Mother's makes the best car wax and great wheel cleaner. I just discovered.
No way. No way. Come on.
You guys seen my Mother's California Gold?
Nope.
Been using it for years. Now someone's gone and took it. If you want a clean car, you've got to trust your Mother's.
He shocked us with the most frightening movie of our time. And now, from William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist. The Guardian, rated R. Starts Friday, April 27th at theaters everywhere.
Introducing new extra-strength Rolaids, 250 milligrams stronger than Tums EX, 1,000 milligrams of fast relief. This settles it, once and for all.
The National Hot Rod Association has made a lot of friends, moving this NHRA Motorcraft Arizona Nationals from the heat of late summer to the cool temperatures we're enjoying today. I'm Steve Evans, along with Stick Daddy Don Garlitz and Paul Page, and here we go, more second-round funny car competition. As Dale Poldy brings it back in the far lane, ready to take on this man, Tom Hoover, funny car, round number 2, ready for some more action. Now, Tom Hoover runs the entire NHRA Winston Drag Racing Series, some 19 races, without a major corporate sponsor. And that takes a lot of smart engine work, not burning up a lot of pieces for the team from Maple Grove, Minnesota. And the man who sees to all of that is Tom's father, George, well over the age of 80, and he can outwork any 20-year-old. Now, Dale Pulley doesn't compete in the entire series, only the Western races. Pulley from Sylmar, California, has won many NHRA national events in his own equipment, now driving for this man, Bill Schultz, and the syndicate that owns his car. And look at their qualifying numbers, 538. They'll be in the hunt.
Well, Dale Pulley is always a very, very tough competitor, and this should be a good race because Tom Hoover is enjoying one of his better years.
Yes, indeed he is. So it's Pulley in the far lane, Hoover in the near lane. Winner will advance to the semifinal round. Unlike the Pro Stock, they lead from a dead idle. Just hammer that throttle all the way open. It's a great lead by Hoover, but Pulley has the power of 5:32, quicker than his qualifying number, to a losing 5.47-second elapsed time.
Hoover had the whole shot, but Pulley had the power and took the win. Funny car, round number 2. As back on the line, here is Casey Spurlock in the cockpit of a funny car. Now, he's been in the cockpit of a number of other machines, including a sprint car. Comes from a racing family as he is ready to face Mark Oswald.
You know, Spurlock won the Winter Nationals, and he is really on a win streak. I was talking to him in the pits, and he is up.
That win was the first race that he ever entered as a nitro driver. Here he is in his second. See how he can do against the veteran Mark Oswald, though.
Well, I bet he can do pretty well. Notice what a real nice burnout he executes. That comes from all that experience in that alcohol funny car, because they do long burnouts in that class.
Mark Oswald looking strong as well. Burnout's complete. Let's go to the far end and Steve.
To run as well as Dale Pulley does in this car on basically a hobby basis should bring a big smile to your face, Dale. 5:32.
All right, we're just hoping to be consistent, be in that left lane like we were. We weren't really sure what it would take because the dragster seemed to slow down a little bit over there.
How do you keep your edge driving as little as you do?
It's hard. It's real hard. For kart races 5 times a year, as far as I'm concerned, we're a real top contender.
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. Headed for the semifinal.
Thank you.
And very pleased with his position as well. He's doing a great job here at Firebird. So back on the line, Mark Oswald moves into position. He's chosen the near side. Seems to be the more popular choice here today as he lines up, ready to take on Spurlock. Now, Mark Oswald out of Puma, Louisiana, the 1984 Winston World Champion in the Candies and Hughes car. Leonard Hughes, of course, serves as the crew chief as they face Casey Spurlock, the racing family from Nashville, Tennessee. And he has the youngest crew chief in NHRA Pro Racing, Ron Swearingen. They're the #1 qualifiers with some new technology.
Last season, when we were to look at a clutch management system on a dragster or funny car, we would see wires in this box because they were all electric. And setting the various stages of the clutch was as easy as programming your VCR at home. No more, because NHRA has banned electrics on these cars. So this one on C.K. Spurlock's machine, driven by his son K.C., is all air. It's pneumatic. Some of them are hydraulic. This one is pneumatic. And it just doesn't run quite as consistently because this air bottle that drives the system is susceptible to exterior temperature. The hotter the ambient temperature, the more pressure in the bottle. Sometimes you'll see this covered to cool it off. Other times they uncover it to bring it up. And one crew person, Tom Anderson, has been assigned to do nothing but monitor this system to try to keep it consistent.
So it's not so much new technology, it's old technology, and it reminds us as why we made the advances.
Well, that's true. They've got an awful lot of equipment there they have to deal with. There's so many timers and so many valves, and it takes so much air to feed it. That's why the temperature of the bottle does affect the performance of these devices.
All right, we're just about to see these two side by side. 8,000 horsepower unleashed, and it is Oswald off the mark. Spurlock is there, but not enough from Spurlock. Oswald won it with alert driving. 5:37 to 275 miles per hour. Let's join Don Garlitz with crew chief Leonard Hughes at the line.
Looks to me like Mark won another one on that leave.
Yeah, the car's really not running very well. He's doing his job, and we're not doing ours, so we're going to do what we can do now.
Well, Mark drove it off the line with a whale of a hole shot. The loser was a 5:36 stop.
Yeah, you can tell that Mark Oswald was certainly not trusting KC Spurlock. He'd seen enough of that car out in front of everybody, so he really cut a nice light. And, of course, he had enough power to maintain that lead.
Let's go to the far end now. Steve Evans is with the upset loser.
I know you have been the first to admit at the Winter Nationals and here even this morning that your reaction times needed improvement, and it bit you that time.
Yeah, you know, we left. I saw he was ahead of me, and we were right there together the whole way. Started to pull on him at the top end, and, you know, like I said, I lost it for myself off the line. The crew did a great job, and I cost us the race.
It's just seat time.
Yeah, that's it, I guess. It's just a little inexperience, and it's the thing that's bit me since we started in these cars, so I'm going to have to get it together.
Don't let it get you down.
Thanks, Steve.
Experience so often makes the difference in motorsports. It certainly does here in drag racing. So now we're ready for the semifinals in all pro categories. In funny car, it will be Mark Oswald facing Bruce Larson. Larson with a choice of lanes, and John Force will take on Dale Pulde. John Force will have his choice on placement of his machine. It's back to Top Fuel coming up next.
This is how a racetrack looks when you're on a Yamaha FZR. And this is how it looks when you're on something else. See why winning on the track results in some of the most advanced motorcycles on the street. Yamaha.
This is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks on the road. And this is how a Ferrari Testarossa looks to the road, where it ultimately responds through the contact patch of its Goodyear Eagle tires. The exclusive tires chosen for every Testarossa sold in America. Goodyear Eagles. They're another reason we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Kindle the cool for your caddy, the juice for your jag. It's the jolt in your coat and what wins with the drag.
You want to add life to the life of your car? Give it the good stuff. Kendall Motor Oil. Pour it in and pour it on.
Push in your pickup, the zap in your seat, the revs in your turbo at the heart of your Lano TT. Pour it in, pour it on, pour in the Kendall and pour it on.
Lately, Showtime's made some overinflated claims. They say they have big movies, but it's HBO that has 7 out of 10 of the year's top films. Hits like Twins, Ghostbusters 2, and HBO exclusives like Rain Man and The Naked Gun. Movies you just won't see on Showtime. And HBO has the fights that made boxing history, along with nearly twice as many original programs. So considering all the facts, HBO is simply the best.
Just how easy can your Yamaha dealer put you on a new Yamaha? That easy. Can-do financing for a limited time only at your local Yamaha dealer.
We're back in Phoenix. You enjoy this stuff? You want to keep a little closer track of what's going on? NHRA now has a brand new 24-hour telephone hotline. 1-900-468-NHRA. Earlier, Steve Evans found a very special guest.
Guys, here in the Press Center patio, I've located the president of the National Hot Rod Association, Dallas Gardner. And Dallas, over the off-season, NHRA made some rather courageous rules changes. The lower gear ratios and the fuelers, restricting electronics and so forth. It's easy to stay with the status quo. You elected not to do that.
Well, I don't know if you really can call them courageous or not. It's, you know, our primary responsibility, certainly to, in the rules-making process, is first for the safety and welfare of our participants. I think as we go into the decade of the 90s, we are going to find things far more complex than they have been in the past with electronics, with computers, with other issues. And of course, drag racing really thrives on technology. It's probably, of all motorsports, technology really starts in drag racing. And I think we have to provide room for technology, but we've got to be ever mindful of performance, and particularly the cost on the racers is a major concern.
Thanks for your time, and have a great day.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Guys?
Well, it's obvious that the NHRA has given all of these decisions some very careful thought. Ready now, Top Fuel semifinal round. There's Joe Amato. He is ready to take on Gene Snow. Now, Amato has lane choice. He has decided on that near lane that has been so popular and so successful throughout the day.
Don Garlett, Gene Snow has been deep staging both rounds today. I'm sure he will again. What advantage?
Well, Steve, the big advantage is it puts his car 4 or 5 inches down the track further ahead of Amato. But the disadvantage is he's that much closer to a red light, and it does hurt his elapsed time because he does not get a roll at the light.
What a drag race. The decision goes to Joe Amato, 508 to a 512 at 273 miles per hour. In a race that close, maybe it's not so stupid at these days when a race could be won by 3 or 4 inches.
Well, that's just exactly what they're thinking, and that is why the guys do it and the gals. Laurie Johns was one of the first ones that did a lot of deep stages. If you're on a real close decision like you're going to see right here, that couple of inches is very important.
Let's go to the far end. Here's Steve. A 508 at 273 puts Joe Amato in the final round. That sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's welcome to the site, you know, with my new car. Good run, Gino, right there, buddy. The first time since we've been running in 10 years, Steve, that we haven't had a red car, candy apple, you know. So
You're not superstitious. We all know that.
No, but, you know, they call me Captain America. You see my little Snoopy on there with the cape on him? My guys are really... Bruce Larson's really busting my chops, because I used to always tease him when his car was red, white, and blue, and he had stars on it and all. So really, we're, you know, just happy to be here.
He's bummed. Now, who will he face in the final round? Ron Tolbert takes a look at Shirley Muldowney and brings her back into position. She has the near lane with lane choice as she's ready to face the Winston World Champion in Top Fuel, Gary Ormsby. Done, if confidence is a factor, I'd give the nod to Muldowney.
You bet. Did you see how long and slow she backed up, just taking her own sweet time? Looked like the old Shirley, didn't it?
Absolutely. She knows that car has got a 4 in it. Gary Ormsby far lane. Shirley Muldowney near lane here at the NHRA Motorcraft Arizona Nationals. Shirley staging very carefully. Ormsby the last to stage.
Both these staged. Shirley up and away, almost gets into Ormsby's car, completely in his lane. What a driving job, bringing that thing down and not getting into the guardrail.
What a driving job by both of them as Gary Ormsby took a evasive measure just in the nick of time. Ormsby drove that thing like a sports car to get away from Shirley. Look at the front wheels on Shirley's car as it slammed back down. Don Garlett's a very scary moment for Shirley.
It certainly was. Look at the car, was carrying the wheels right from the start. But Shirley wasn't about to back off. Higher and higher it goes over the cones into Ormsby lane. Look at Ormsby steer away from. You don't see much of that in drag racing. They're actually driving it like on the NASCAR tracks.
One behind the other. I'll bet that got everybody's attention. Let's go to the far end. Well, you know who the real race car drivers are when things like that happen. Shirley, great job.
Had my hands full, Steve, but what a great car. It just, you know, it goes up so fast. I couldn't believe it. And then I saw that line coming. I was praying that Ormsby. I knew it was Ormsby. I mean, I was thankful it was Ormsby is what I wanted to say.
You had a pro in the other lane as well.
Yeah, I thought, golly, I'm telling you, it was on a heck of a path.
Well, this guy's got a great future.
Great car. Telling you.
Not a bad driver either.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
And despite the problem, Shirley's pretty happy with that. Let's take a look at the pairings now for the final round in Top Fuel. Joe Amato faces Gary Ormsby, 2 former world champions. And Amato will have the choice of lanes. Steve?
Well, Gary, I don't know what you saw, but if you saw Shirley Muldowney, she reminded you of you last year at Brainerd.
Yeah, I saw her coming over. I thought she was coming over on top of me. That's why I backed out.
I think you both did a good job in that one.
Yeah, we looked pretty close, you know. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I just saw her coming over, right over on me, so I backed off the throttle, you know.
You're going to the finals, that's the important thing.
That's for sure.
And everybody's in one piece. That really is the important thing.
Well, Ormsby tried to fly his car in similar fashion at Brainerd last year. We're in Mark Oswald's pit area. They're making their preparations now. It is Bruce Larson that they will face in the funny car semifinal.
On this stretch of road, there is no speed limit. You go as fast as you can. And to reach maximum speed, Joe Amato's crew chief, Tim Richards, uses Autolite spark plugs. They stand up under the toughest racing conditions. Autolite, the only brand with a 2-year unlimited mileage guarantee. With Autolite, there's nothing holding you back.
Well, I'm an old mule skinner, working hard all day. There ain't a skinner tougher, mule, you earn your pay.
Introducing the 4x4 Kawasaki Mule and the original Mule 1000. About the only job they can't help you do is look up the number for the Mule dealer nearest you. And that's 1-800-661-RIDE.
This weekend, we were supposed to take up a new sport.
Mountain climbing.
Yeah, boy, I was really looking forward to hanging off an 8,000-foot cliff by my fingernails. Then I found out I could get a free game of bowling and a chance to win up to $100,000 in the A&W Road to Riches sweepstakes. So this weekend, it's A&W root beer and cream soda, our favorites, and some real fun bowling.
Next weekend, skydiving.
Look for the A&W free bowling display.
Kmart gives you a close shave with a Gillette Atra Plus razor. The quality you need at the price you want. $2.99.
Introducing new extra-strength Rolaids, 250 milligrams stronger than Tums EX, 1,000 milligrams of fast relief. This settles it, once and for all.
We're back in Phoenix at the Motorcraft Arizona Nationals. Coming up, right after American Sports Cavalcade, more NHRA drag racing with our new show, NHRA Today. Special features and all the background information you could want here on the Nashville Network. Steve?
John Forrest is under his Oldsmobile body, and it's not just to find some shade. What's going wrong, John?
Well, you know, this is one of them $15,000 bodies, a honeycomb body. It's one of the only one out here. And for some reason, it's coming apart. The roof's caving in. We ran almost 280 with it, and it's shoving the sides out. It's blowing the windows out of the side of it every run.
Anything you can do to truss it up?
Well, I'm going to leave that to Austin. They're pretty busy, and I'm just taking a second to take a look and see if I can find what's going on.
We can actually see on the driver's side window all of those cracks. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess what really aggravates me is it keeps blowing my name out of the window every run.
The decal blows off. It's just RE now.
Well, we'll take it. We'll fix it.
One thing about it, force always hangs loose.
Action continues up on the starting line. Gordy Rivera and Bruce Allen ready in the semifinal round of Pro Stock. Rivera on the near side has lane choice.
And this is a pair of Chevrolet Berettas, 500 cubic inches, 2,350 pounds, great big 4-barrel carburetors, racing gasoline. That's the rules in Pro Stock. A great start by both. And a great finish. Gordy Rivera from Arizona, 743, the winner, to a losing 745. Now you can see just one of the reasons Pro Stock racing is so popular.
You bet, Steve. Watch that start. Gordy Rivera cuts a perfect light. By that, I mean if he had left 1/1000th of a second sooner, it would have been red and he would have been disqualified. But he was not disqualified, and he took that starting line advantage and parlayed it into a win.
So with a perfect light, Gordy Rivera has set the benchmark here. Now we are with Bob Glidden. That's Jerry Ekman over on the other side. He has the far lane. Glidden has chosen the near side, and the near side has been paying off today. Let's go to the far end.
You know, it's special to get in a final round in New Jersey or Montreal or Ohio, but when you can do it in your home state, it's got to be great, Gordy.
I'll tell you what, I'm one happy little guy right now.
You want to get happier? You cut the perfect light, 400.
Right. I love it. Okay, one more.
Well, there's a few of those in the guy's career. I don't care how long he races.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, boy. Is he happy?
Well, not only is Gordy kicking up his heels, but he's got a lot of fans here that are cheering right along with him. Back at the starting line, there is Ekman, ready to take on 10-time Winston World Champion Bob Glidden.
Glidden on paper certainly has the edge. His elapsed times throughout this event have been quicker than Jerry Ekman's. And let's go for a ride with the winningest Pro Stock driver, the winningest drag racer in history, Robert Glidden, Whiteland, Indiana. And it's a clean win for Bob Glidden. We all won on that one, didn't we? Jerry Ekman left too soon. Another foul start in Pro Stock. Glidden wins it at 740, 186.
Even an old top fuel racer like me enjoyed that ride, Steve.
Well, we're all set for the finals now in Pro Stock. It'll be Arizona's Gordy Rivera against Bob Glidden. Glidden with his choice of lanes. Now, Steve Evans is down at the far end with Bob.
For more times than anyone can count, Bob Glidden goes into the final round up against a tough little customer in Gordy Rivera.
Hey, they're all tough, Steve, and for sure, Gordy's in the final, so you know he's one of the toughest.
You know, he cut a perfect light, but that might be good for you. He got that one out of his system.
Maybe he'll red light. You know, I think 2 in a row have on me, so, you know, we're going to need some good breaks to win this round.
Yes, you are. A 740.
4-0 we went. Everyone fell off a little. I think we fell off more than everyone else. Hey, we're going to need some good breaks.
So it's back to work for Bob Glidden. Get the family going on that car. In the meantime, back in the pit area, they continue to prepare the top fuelers. Gary Ormsby's crew ready for their battle coming up against Joe Amato.
This week, Nashville Now stars Garth Brooks, the Goldens, Andy Andrews, Holly Dunn, Charlie Chase, June Carter Cash, Becky Hobbs, and the Oak Ridge Boys, live this week on Nashville Now.
Night at the Highway Cafe of there. There's a black velvet painting of the king of rock and roll hanging just beside
The Austin Lounge Lizards on the Texas Connection, Friday on TNN.
The power and the grace of a thoroughbred, the FiberFab Speedster. The exhilaration and speed of the Speedster Californian. Build your dream today. Own a FiberFab Speedster at an amazingly affordable price. Call 1-800-328-5671 for more information on the special offering of the FiberFab Speedsters and other timeless classics from FiberFab International. Call now 1-800-328-5671. FiberFab International introduces the Classic 359, the car of tomorrow that you can drive today. The most exciting car you'll ever build or have built for you, the Classic 359. Drive the future today. Call 1-800-328-5671 now for special introductory pricing on the Classic 359 and information on all the classics from FiberFab International. Call 1-800-328-5671.
Beautiful weather, great racing, and a wonderful day here at Firebird. We're ready for the semifinal round in Funny Car. But first, here's an update from Steve Evans.
People often ask if the race drivers are paid by the companies that put the little small decals on both sides of the car. Well, the answer is yes, they are. It's called Contingency Cash Awards, and it's all organized through NHRA sponsored program. Now, if you win or are runner-up, you actually use that product and display the decals. Yes, you're going to make a handsome bonus on top of the event purse. And if you got a lot of those sponsors, you can make a lot more money. So the manufacturers are visible on the cars and in National Dragster in the sponsor award listing. At this event, over $700,000 alone.
Adjustments being made as we're ready for Bruce Larson to face Mark Oswald.
Did you notice that? He was turning on all those little extra air bottles. That's to ensure that he has the proper air pressure to run that pneumatic timing system during this next run.
Well, Leonard Hughes told you earlier, Don Garlis, he was going to try to give Mark Oswald a little more power to go along with his driving. We'll know in just a few seconds if he was able to do that. Maybe too much power.
I'm sure of it. Way too much power. The wheels spun and the race was over.
Well, Bruce Larson had far from the perfect run at 6.43 seconds. Let's go to Don Garlitz on the starting line with his crew chief, Maynard Yanks, to see if they know what the problem is.
What went wrong?
I don't know. It looked like a little wisp of tire smoke or something. I don't know if he thought it broke loose or if something busted on the car. It's hard to say.
Uncertain, definitely concerned. Joe Amato comes in to give his teammate a hug as Maynard Yanks now heads down to the far end. In the meantime, we're on board once again with John Force. Perhaps they have their problem solved, but you can see on the left side the decal is still kind of drooping off the side of the car as John Force is ready to take on Dale Poldy. Let's go to the far end. Steve Evans is now with Bruce Larson.
Before the body went down on Bruce Larson's car, we observed that the bottom blower pulley is sheared completely off the crankshaft. You got a break, boy.
I sure did. I saw Mark drop back, and I figured he'd never catch me, and then mine quit, so I thought it's just a matter of trying to coast over the finish line.
You probably just thought the belt had come off.
I didn't know. You know, you don't try to figure something like that out until you get around the corner.
Okay, see you in the final.
Thank you.
Larson is happy. In the meantime, up at the starting line, John Force, they bring the body up on the car.
Well, in the old days, they thought that was a problem, but in this case, it's just Austin Coyle is disconnecting the ground wire from the second mag. The car is now running on the dual magnetos.
Well, Austin felt that maybe doing the burnout on 2 magnetos a couple of years ago was responsible for 3 successive blower explosions. It's a habit he got into that he doesn't really want to get out of. 2 of the best funny car drivers in the land, Dale Poldy versus John Force. In the round previous, Poldy was a little slow off the mark, and that's not like him. He'll be working on his reaction time here. You can bank on that. John Force near lane, Poldy in the far lane. Only one will go to the final to meet Bruce Larson. John Force staged and ready. We're with him. A bad start by John. You can see Poldy off to the left. And they both run 5.33 seconds, but Poldy wins with daylight between them because Force was so slow off the starting line. He's going to be sick about that, Don.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Austin Cole's going to be sick, too. Prepare a car like that, and something happened to Force on the line. I don't know what it was. Unbelievable whole shot starting line advantage is what we call it in drag racing, and Paul Lee got it. Force was never able to make up the difference, even though he ran a full 14 miles an hour faster than Paul Lee. There was still Dale Poldy at the finish line.
So we're ready for the finals in all categories. Dale Poldy will have lane choice when he faces Bruce Larson. Let's go to the far end. See there.
Well, 5.33s apiece should have been a dead heat, but not with your driving, my friend. You just knocked that tree right down.
Well, I'm glad. I've been having problems with it, not racing very often. One run I'm good, one run I'm off, and now these guys deep stage, so I don't know how close I am. But hey, when you got a car that's consistent, it's a real relief.
Well, this team is not deep in the spare parts department. Do you leave it alone? Do you try to run a little quicker? What?
No, we make them go out and race us. We put every part in it we think it could use.
Go get them.
Occasional appearance for Poldy, but he's doing his best with it. In the meantime, in Joe Amato's pit, they make their final preparations. Ready for the final round of Top Fuel. We'll have the final round in Pro Stock. That's coming up next. Getting ready for his confrontation with Bob Glidden in Pro Stock. We're ready for the final rounds in the Pro categories, and the pros are great. But at any NHRA drag race, there is so much more.
Time does not allow us to pay the tribute we'd like to the over 300 sportsman races that competed this weekend at the Arizona Nationals. But we would at least like to show you one of those cars. How about a 1964 GTO in the Super Street category? If you know your muscle cars, you know the GTO is regarded as the first of that breed. Ken Harkema, the owner of the car from Scottsdale, Arizona, bought it in December of 1963. He was one of the first owners in America of the GTO. He raced it in the stock classes for a number of years, and then a few seasons back decided to, unfortunately, make a full competition car out of it. No way could you restore this machine to original. And if you've priced lately GTOs in near original condition, you know how disappointed he is with that decision. But Paulie did make it to the final round at Super Street. How'd he do there?
Well, Steve, if you can't sell it, then you might as well race it. This was the final in Super Street. Hakima on the far side as he faced Kenny Vasseur. And Hakima pulled the red light with a foul start, and that gave Vasseur the win right at the starting line.
For the Pro Stock Final. You're on board the Ford Probe of Bob Glidden, and of course you know he's up against the Chevrolet product, and the fans like that, especially these Arizona fans, considering it's Gordy Rivera in his Beretta. Now, we saw Rivera in the round before cut a perfect light against his competition. Bob Glidden has had 2 racers red light against him today. He puts that kind of fear in them. They feel they have to go out and take a chance. Gordy Rivera, though, has the power down, Garland. I don't think he needs to do that.
I think he's going to cut a good light, but I don't believe that Bob Glidden is going to cut him any slack either.
Oh, in fact, it's Glidden and Rivera leading exactly together. But it's Bob Glidden arriving there first. Son Billy liked that one. A 7:36, their first win of the new season. 7:41 for the losing Gordy Rivera. Let's go to Don.
Well, you know, how many does that make?
I think that makes 77.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and that was a tough one. You've got to understand that the competition is really tough out here, and Gordy is an excellent, excellent driver, and I've got to give him all my best for making it to the finals. He's an excellent person. All of our competitors really are.
Well, that pro stock is really a competitive class.
It's really tough. Yes, it is.
Well, we enjoy it.
Yes, we enjoy it, and as long as we enjoy it, we'll keep doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
So Bob Glidden takes the win, but Gordy Rivera has nothing to apologize for.
One of the most exciting starts that I've seen in pro stock in a long time. Both cars cut an identical reaction time, which makes the race just perfect from the start. But as we move down track, the Glidden motor begins to produce just a little bit more horsepower, and that moves the car completely ahead of Gordy Rivera.
So Bob Glidden takes the win here in Phoenix.
Bob Glidden has now won 5 out of the 6 NHRA national events held here at Firebird, but this one was a toughie.
Thank goodness for Phoenix being early in the season, Steve. We needed this after last week, the disastrous mess we went through at Pomona. You know, Gordy, get over here, little man. Got to get this short guy in here. He gets all...
Little man with big skills.
He gets all upset when you call him short man. Hey, this guy did a great job. You know, got to give him credit.
And you knew that you couldn't let him do to you what he did to Bruce Allen.
Hey, you can't tell what this guy's going to do. He's pretty tough on all of us. He does a good job. But, you know, it was just our day, Steve. We came out Friday in the first run. We went a 28 with a 0. You know, what can you say? The old probed him today.
And you showed tremendous promise for the rest of the season, Gordy. You and Grumpy Jenkins together.
Thank you. I'm just happy to be here with everybody.
Happy to have you both down here.
Appreciate it. Hey, nice job.
Gives you an idea of what we can expect in the new decade in pro stock. Let's take a look at the point standings after 2 events. Jerry Ekman has the lead, followed by Alan Glidden. Gordy Rivera up there in 4th now, and then Darrell Alderman. Back at the staging lanes, we're ready for the final in Funny Car as Bruce Larson's crew makes final preparations. The burnouts are complete. We're ready for the final round of Funny Car as Maynard Jinks directs his driver back into the lanes. And there is Dale Poldy's car pulling back, ready to take on Larson in the final round.
Well, you know, Larson is just continuing on his win streak from last year. He's the world champion. But I'll tell you what, you can never trust Dale Poldy. He's a good little driver, and he's got an awful good car.
And a great day for Poldy. A little bit earlier, Steve Evans took a look at this crew.
Well, this is just a typical over-the-hill gang thrash. We've seen it before anytime they get to a final round. And crew chief Bill Schultz, you've got more people here. You couldn't possibly be paying them all.
Oh, no, I don't pay them all. They're all volunteer workers. I'm the only paid individual here.
And there's enough of them.
Oh, yeah. How about you count?
16.
It's 24. You're 8 short.
How many of them have an interest in the car, an ownership interest?
Oh, probably over the years, just about all of them. One time or another put something in it.
A lot of little stockholders.
Yeah, a lot of little stockholders. That's what we're just a good old American company.
And you have trust in every one of these people to do the right job?
Well, for every set of hands that's working out, we got 4 sets of eyes watching.
Well, Detroit could take a lesson from that.
Oh, yeah, it's a good thing. That's what the Japanese do. That's what we do. That's what they do with burgers, too. You know, nobody can put a burger on without getting any salt on it. You don't understand that.
See you on the starting line.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So all the volunteers in the world on Dale Poldy's car, and he comes up against one very tough customer. On the far side, Bruce Larson.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Paul, I always got really nervous when that many people worked on my fuel dragster.
You were just too cheap to pay any more than one, Dick.
I was just trying to save up some money for my old age, Steve.
And look at the tire smoke off of Larson's car. Possibly the air getting a little bit better. He built too much horsepower. And Poldy wins it at 5:37, 266 miles per hour. And all the stockholders go crazy. As Larson pulls off disappointed, let's go to Don with the CEO of that company.
This is the most I've talked to you in about 15 years when we used to run dragsters, and it's a real pleasure.
Well, it's been fun talking to you today, Bill.
I know it. I've had a lot of fun, and our guys had a lot of fun. Obviously, we got 24 guys all working on the car, all part share owners, and we're all happy. And the in-and-out guy missed it today. He stayed home, and he missed the whole thing.
Well, that was his loss, wasn't it?
That's right. But it's for you, Rich. We won her. Thanks, Donald.
Well, Rich Snyder, the sponsor, wasn't here and missed a great day.
It was a good day, Paul, and it was a beautiful day for Baldy. I mean, it wasn't so good for Larson. They had a little bit too much power, and he went up in smoke. But Baldy had already taken a starting line advantage. He didn't run any better than the rest of the day, but he was steady, and that's what counts in drag racing.
Well, a wise man once said, when you go over the hill, you start picking up speed, and speed was all about for Dale Pulte. Tremendous job. What happened out there?
Well, the car got out there, and it got a little bit, it started to shake and got a little bit loose, and I didn't see him, so I took the chance of pedaling the thing rather than having to smoke the tires or do something crazy. And I don't know what happened to Bruce, but he's the world champion. He's the one I needed to beat.
5:37 on and off the gas. That's an incredible time.
This car, I said before, if we ran it a few more times, it's a real powerhouse. I just wish Rich Snyder and my wife Maria and everybody was here to see it, to get as much of an enjoyment out of it as we're going to.
When it runs this good, isn't there a temptation to run the full tour?
Oh, we love to. It's just that there's so many guys, and In-N-Out Burger's just a California-type chain, and we're lucky to come over here to Arizona. We like to come over here anyway.
And a fine driver, that's for sure.
Well, thank you very much. Got a real good crew at the Overhill gang, and Bill Schultz being the crew chief, and now we have Corey Lee doing the clutch. He used to work for Ed McCullough, and he shows up the races and works for JB Racing in the meantime.
They better knock down the walls of the winner's circle. There's a mob headed there for the funny car celebration.
Thanks.
Ready to celebrate with Dale Pulte. A convincing win. Boy, he looked great today. Let's take a look at the point standings in funny car. After 2 races, Pulte has the lead, but of course he's not going to drive all the races this year. Larson, Spurlock, McCullough, and John Forth rounds off the top 5. Now we're ready for the final round in Top Fuel.
And I have a feeling we may have saved the very best for last. Gary Ormsby, the #1 on his car. Well, that tells the history of his last season. He is the Winston champion against Joe Amato, the man he stole the #1 from, Big Daddy.
And who finished #2 last year. So this is a race of races. You know, Joe Amato, he wants to win this race. There's no love lost between these two drivers. You know, when you run that heated a competition over a whole year's period of time, it gets very difficult to be real friendly.
And Ormsby would love to have Amato's lane, but he lost lane choice in that encounter with Shirley Muldowney when he had to get off the power. Ormsby, the last to stage. It is Ormsby away first. But Amato, with a racket-sounding engine, still wins it at 5:05. 275 to Ormsby's 5:11. Joe Amato is your champion. Don is at the starting line with the crew chief.
Heck of a job there, Tim.
It always feels good to be in the winner's circle. My guys did a great job, and Joe is being part of this crew. He's just a real good driver. We enjoy this kind of stuff.
Well, we know you've had a hard time getting adapted to all these new rules, but it seems to be coming around.
Well, sooner or later, the cream will come to the top. Thank you.
Good luck.
So Tim Richards goes down to join Joe Amato. Notice Gary Ormsby's car. He was again deep stage.
He took a tremendous starting line advantage. He was ready for Joe Amato, but that clutch combination of that pneumatic timers was just a little bit much. Beard hasn't quite got the handle on that yet. Amato was losing pistons, but he still got to the end first.
Well, this championship final was won by the team that best managed their horsepower. It hooked up all the way down to a 5:05, Joe.
Steve, what can I say? You know, it's been a couple months here. It's a pleasure to bring our new team, Valvoline Top Fuel Dragster, into the final here. You know, Mr. Gasket, Joe Rucker's up there in the suite there looking on, and he's one of our sponsors. Keystone, Key Parts. We've got a lot of sponsors. A lot of people help the car.
Tell me about the race itself.
Well, it was Gary Ormsby's always leaves the line good, so you know it was going to be an exciting.
Did again.
I'm sure of that. But, you know, Timmy said we got to just go for it. He hoped the track was good. They tried to put the motor on a little extra power and step it up in the final. And, you know, we just was hoping that we had enough, and my job was to get off at least even when we were close. See, everybody gets confused with this deep stage and stuff. Everybody has to get that straightened up. But, you know, the car went out and it shook just a tweak, but it went right down the track. You know, and we were side by side, and I kept hoping, because it was starting to drift a little, it went out of the center line a little bit, and I tried to just make it, you know, keep it straight, so get the maximum performance. And I didn't really know if I won for sure. It was that close.
So much for Joe Amato having to have a red car to win.
Well, you know, this team Valvoline, red, white, and blue car, they call me Captain America. Hopefully it'll bring us a lot of luck. You know, we're real happy to be involved with Valvoline. They've got a good Say No to Drugs program, and it's a nice company, and we're a real pleasure to be here.
Again, congratulations. Look out, Top Fuel. Amato will be tough all season long.
Joe Amato may be on his way to another winning year as he shakes hands with Gary Ormsby. But Ormsby still has the points lead in Top Fuel, followed by Laurie Johns, then Joe Amato, Gene Snow, and Shirley Muldowney.
And down here at the far end, nothing ever quite matches the Joe Amato victory celebration, and we've seen it many times. For Paul Page and Don Garland, I'm Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by
than any other, and with more cameras than you normally see. And it's because of the talented people who man these viewfinders